The Indiana Fever just wrapped up their busiest and most successful free agency period ever. After a historic 2024 season set the foundation for the future of the franchise, Kelly Krauskopf and Amber Cox quickly began building, retaining key talent, bringing in all-stars, and adding much-needed experience to a young Fever core. It's possible we may look back at free agency 2025 as the impetus for catapulting the Fever into title contention. So let's take a look at how we got here and where the Fever stand. And it all started with retaining an all-star. Kelsey Mitchell has proven herself to be one of the league's best scorers and three-point shooters year in and year out. The two-time All-Star has finished in the top 10 in WNBA scoring in each of the last 5 seasons. Mitchell is already top 15 in WNBA history in points scored and three-pointers made, all before the age of 30. And when she's paired up with Caitlin Clark, the two's chemistry was undeniable, combining for 38 points, 10 assists, and over 230 threes made. With the backcourt locked down and Aaliyah Boston in the middle, the Fever front office looked toward the wings. Let's start with the most experienced postseason player in WNBA history, DeWanna Bonner. No star has ever played more than her 87 playoff games, a number she'll be looking to significantly add to in 2025. Bonner is a 2-time WNBA champion and a 6-time All-Star, who is 4th all-time in scoring and 9th all-time in rebounding. But her best days aren't behind her. Bonner is still playing at an extremely high level, entering season number 16. In fact, she was named an All-Star in each of her last 2 seasons and got MVP vote recognition just last season. And while Indiana is new to her, this coaching staff is not. She spent the last 2 seasons with Stephanie White, Austin Kelly, and Keith Porter. Her length makes her a major weapon on both ends of the floor, allowing her to get shots off regardless of how tight the defense is, and finish in tight quarters inside. Bonner's wingspan wreaks all sorts of havoc on the defensive end too, where the former All-WNBA defender uses that frame to get into passing lanes, hound ball handlers, racking up steals and blocks left and right. Bonner is 12th all-time in league history in steals and 24th all-time in blocks. And she'll share the starting lineup with a new teammate who's 25th all-time in blocks. That new teammate, Natasha Howard, whose return feels so appropriate given she was drafted 5th overall by Kelly Krauskopf and the Indiana Fever. Howard is a 3-time WNBA champion and a 2-time All-Star. She's a defensive stalwart, a former Defensive Player of the Year, with Defensive Player of the Year votes in 3 seasons. Last year, with a minimum of 25 games played, Natasha Howard was one of just 13 players to average 18 points per game. She was one of 16 players to average 7 rebounds per game. And the list of players to average both 18 and 7 last year, short and elite. Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, Brittany Griner, and yes, Natasha Howard. Howard shares the front court with emerging defensive star Aaliyah Boston, forming a formidable rim protection duo. But on offense, her game should sync with Caitlin Clark extremely well. There's no guard better at finding her teammates in the open floor than Clark, and Howard's signature skill is her rim running, appropriately providing her the nickname Flash. Now, this alone would qualify as one of the best free agencies in league history, but the improvements and additions kept on coming, including one of the fiercest competitors in the league, Sophie Cunningham, who has earned a reputation as one of the toughest players in the WNBA, capable of ejecting energy into the game and into her teammates. On offense, Cunningham is a floor spacer and a deep shot maker. Each of her last 3 seasons, she's finished top 20 in the WNBA in threes made per minute on the floor among qualified players, and she will join a backcourt that features 2 of the top 5 three-point shot makers from a year ago, Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. And on defense, she's capable of guarding 1 through 4, bringing much-needed versatility to the Fever on the defensive end of the floor. A young team can never have too much leadership and experience. The Fever also welcomed in an on- and off-the-court favorite, Sydney Colson, who seemed destined to join the Fever at some point in her career. In fact, she won the 2011 National Championship right here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Spending her last 3 seasons in Las Vegas has meant she's been a part of numerous deep playoff runs, including lifting that championship trophy twice. She brings an immense amount of knowledge and experience to Indiana, but is still quite capable on the floor too. Look no further than her 13.5 rebound, 4 assists, 2 block, and 2 steal game against Dallas in September just last season. And sometimes in the throes of an intense year, you need someone to lighten the load mentally. There may not be an athlete on the planet better than that. And finally, some front court defense, rim protection, and rebounding in Brianna Turner. The 6-year pro has made the WNBA's first team all-defense twice in her career, putting her in exclusive company. She's one of just 10 active players to make first team all-defense multiple times in her career, and she'll be teammates with another in Natasha Howard. Turner finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting in 2020 and finished 3rd in 2021. Rim protection is what Turner does best. She finished 2nd in the league in blocks in 2020 and 4th in 2022. And the shots she doesn't get a hand on, she still affects, forcing difficult looks at the rim and opponents to second-guess going in the paint. And Turner cleans up around the basket too, averaging over 9 rebounds per game twice in her career. In 2021, she was the WNBA's 6th best rebounder per minute on the floor. Add it all up, and the Fever retained and signed players with a combined 10 All-Star appearances and 7 WNBA championships. The Fever last season were 3rd in the league offensively. They now boast 5 of the league's top 30 scorers from a year ago, with a minimum of 25 games played. No other team has more than 3. There will be an abundance of options for Caitlin Clark, the league's leading assister from last season. In 2024, the Fever finished 11th defensively, and Stephanie White has made it clear. Defensive focus and improvements are coming. The addition of White alone should go a long way. Her Connecticut Sun teams finished top 2 in her 2 seasons there. Every WNBA team she's coached has finished in the top half of the league on defense. The Fever bring in a combined 1 Defensive Player of the Year award and 5 seasons of finishing on the WNBA's all-defensive teams. And the Fever can now, incredibly, field a starting 5 with 5 All-Stars. But what the Fever may have gained the most is irreplaceable: big game experience. 2025 roster has played in an incredible 213 playoff games, more than 11 times more experience than they had going into last season, and an impressive 7 WNBA championships are on the roster. Key experience for what the Fever hope is the start of numerous deep playoff runs and annual title contention.